We are sexual creatures. We have the capacity to procreate, as all creatures do. We are conscious creatures. And so our sexuality is a very significant aspect to us. And as a developmentalist, the main question has to do with our potential as human beings. How do we realize our potential as human beings? How do we realize our potential as sexual beings? We'll take a look at this and find out that sexuality is really not divorced from the other issues of realizing our potential. One's sexuality can be no more developed than one's capacity for relationship. If somebody has not developed the capacity for emotional and psychological intimacy, their sexuality is not going to be any more developed. The United States probably has the most developed sex education program, yet 1 out of 4 girls have sexually transmitted diseases at any one time, 1 out of 4 teenagers, and has the highest rate of pregnancies in the world. And so we would have to say that our sex education program is not working. The adolescent society is becoming what we would call hypersexualized. Not just sexualized, but hypersexualized. And social networking has become ubiquitous. 70% of our teens are now on social networking sites. This again has changed completely the face of the coming of age kinds of rights and processes. So we're in a huge kind of in-between place. Where culture is no longer respected. We have left the ways of our predecessors, and yet when we lose that way, we must replace it with some kinds of consciousness, some kinds of words, and we have not yet replaced it with a scientific understanding. Often today, the standard that is used to compare all things is the norm. And the norm is the statistical norm, what most people are engaging in, what most people do. Unfortunately, many of our adolescents compare each other to this. Is it normal? Is it normal? That's not the question of a developmentalist. The question of a developmentalist, is it natural? What was nature's intention? What was nature's purpose? Sex is about the pursuit and preservation of proximity, which is the essence of attachment. It's about touching in a special way. It's all about contact and closeness. It's all about intimacy. You can't divorce it from that. When the attachment comes, when the contact and closeness is intimate, the oxytocin just pours into the brain. And we now find that oxytocin is human superglue. So when a person engages in sexual interaction, the brain releases human superglue. This is a chemistry of attachment that it was meant to bind us together. So we could say that sexual interaction triggers the pursuit and the preservation of proximity. When you put the pieces together, when you go from science, you've got to say sexual interaction was designed to create couples. Not only babies, but the context in which to raise them, ready or not. That is, in our society, a child is not ready at 15. But if that's a sexual interaction, the brain is not set to say, okay, this is a North American society, now we wait till 22. And so it is not just for reproduction as previously assumed, not just for an experience, as was the prevailing assumption, that this is actually not just to procreate again, but for parenting. Today's sex education is completely uninformed by this.